Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Problem Solved podcast. I'm lucky enough today to be joined by Christie from Sherpa Property Group. Hi,
Morning.
Chris. Morning.
How are you?
Very good, mate. Thank you for joining us.
It's all right. I didn't realise it was called Problem Solved. You might be able to solve some of mine.
Well, hopefully we can unpack a few during our
absolutely.
conversation.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to take the opportunity to start off to thank you. Really appreciate your time
My pleasure.
and coming in to open up to talk about some of the problems and also where you see Sherpa going in the future.
Yeah.
By way of introduction, Christie, you're a prolific Gold Coast developer. You've reached great success in a relatively short period of time. Currently got $1.35 billion worth of projects in the pipeline.
Yep.
I'm just really, really excited to
Sure.
open up and get through this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of current projects, did you maybe want to touch on what you guys are working on at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that, we have had a bit of a run. We've been here 8 years, but the reality is we've just launched a new brand and we're really just getting started, to be truthful. So it's in my mind, it's a startup. It's a new company. It's an exciting time to be around. We've had 3 brands that we've done on the Gold Coast, and have done is probably the right word. We're not in those marketplaces anymore. We've done an acreage estate brand and done a few subdivisions in there. We've done a really cool model that is a zero or a small lot model called Freedom, which I think is the best brand that we have in terms of super low capital intensity, which is not a bad way to be. And then we moved into a high-end beachfront brand called Perspective.
Yeah.
And then we've evolved, which is one of our favourite words, into Flourish, which is our passion at the moment. We've got 3 under construction currently, with another 3 to come, which is, making up the numbers that you just mentioned.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And did you maybe want to touch on how you brand your projects? So you've got Perspective there, and you guys did projects along Balinga, Palm Beach,
Yeah.
and now it's Flourish. So your brand encompasses, when you open up a brand for projects, it encompasses a few projects at a time?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, so the Perspective brand really came out of a mantra of mine, which was less is more.
Yep.
And I thought at the time, and I still do think, but I thought at the time that if you can develop less on a site, it's a good outcome for the owners of the properties that you develop. And I thought at the time that really the ultimate form of high-end wealth is a lack of property on a site. So, rather than having 20, the property's more valuable if you have 5. So most of our Perspective brand was very much, I'm not going to say too many times, most of our Perspective brand was like 1 per floor, or at the most 2 per floor, high-end type development, which is now fairly prolific and justifiably so up and down the Gold Coast coastline. Yeah, and it's a brand that we've moved out of, so that's a brand that we've done, and probably full stop after the done, just because it's not our passion at the moment.
Yeah, well, you got in really early with that.
Yeah,
and was the philosophy there bigger units, more catered towards the end users in terms of practicality, functionality, and
it was,
and communities?
Yeah, and sort of it was the birth of our passion of floor plans. So when you've got a 1 per floor, you can do something really, really cool. And I remember when we were first starting, going to the architects, and the architects would just say, we're up to revision 48. Won't this just do? And I came from a marketplace in Airlie Beach where you were selling off the plan, but the reality is most of those would probably not settle, and you'd have the end product for sale, and the end product has got to be every bit as good as the render, if not better, and the floor plans have got to be exceptionally great to live in. And I guess that birthed our passion for floor plans, which we still have and carry through to our Flourish model. We think one of the greatest things that we can do for our customers is to do a great floor plan, and we certainly I think did that in our Perspective brand.
And was that birthed through your experience in office plan sales and understanding how important it was to take that idea on a plan and being able to communicate that to the market? Was that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think probably the other thing that I understand now is if you enjoy something, you become perhaps good at it. And it's just, I'm not an architect by any stretch of the imagination, but I just like looking at plans and seeing what works, and seeing how the plans can be the best they can be. I was at Palm Beach this morning going for a walk and walked past 488, and the apartments there are 23 metres to the beachfront. It's just extraordinary.
Yeah.
And just a beautiful thing to do. You know,
Yep.
it's a really good thing to do, and we've got 8 owners there. I think all 8 are still owners from 4 years ago. So, yeah, certainly in our Perspective brand, the turnover of the properties after ownership is very, very low. Same as our Freedom brand. Actually, we did 16 houses on a site at Rainbow Bay, which was approved for 158 apartments, and
Wow.
I believe all 16 of those owners are still in ownership. And if I had one of those, I'd still be in ownership
Yeah.
too. They're a pretty unique sort of thing.
Yeah, and those, I guess, clients of yours have had a massive upswing in value.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
And to be honest, I think that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, particularly back then, we were not known. They were punting, you know, our delivery. They didn't know that we could do that at that time. Maybe we've got a bit more of a track record now. Most of those properties were sold during COVID. How many people would have thought that the market would go the way it did during COVID? They took risk, and I think they deserve a reward, to be honest. Yeah.
and have you found that, you know, focusing on less is more? Have you found that and having clients come in, purchase properties, back you guys, and be successful in that in their own right, have you found that that's helped you on future projects in terms of repeat clients and purchases going from one project to the other?
We have more so under our Flourish brand,
Yeah.
and even Perspective Nexus, which was 4 per floor. So it was sort of somewhere in between our even though it was branded under the Perspective brand, it wasn't a 1 per floor super high-end luxury type development, but it also wasn't part of our Flourish. So we've certainly starting to see now a lot of people reinvesting back into our projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Good.
great.
It's
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the best form of marketing.
Well, it's probably the best form of research too, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, you know, so they're happy to live in the last one, and you know, they bring that degree of confidence into the next one. Yeah.
And following your vision forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. So in terms of your career, it's been about a 30-year journey to this point.
And we're just getting started,
So
remember?
just get started, yeah.
Don't go telling me I'm old. Yeah, no, it has been.
Yeah. And from what I understand, it started up in Proserpine
Yep.
in real estate.
Yep. Yeah, agency. Yeah, I bought first real estate agency in 1987. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been an agent. I closed my real estate agency about 3 weeks ago, so the end of February, to give some context to that. So, sorry, the end of January. So I've been an agent since 19, whatever that was, to that time. So,
Wow.
yeah, a long time. Yeah.
And what made you get into real estate originally? What attracted you towards it?
Yeah, strange answer. But anyway, so I was studying law and accounting full-time at James Cook University.
Yep.
Probably majoring in alcoholism, so it wasn't going all that well. And I decided to come back to Proserpine and get a real job. So I worked in the cane fields, carting cane, doing sort of a semi-manual job, and decided to finish my studies. And I thought I'll buy a business, and because I was doing accounting and law, so I thought that transposed incorrectly into some business skills. I don't really think it does, but anyway, I thought it did at the time. So I bought a real estate agency. So it just happened that it was a real estate agency for sale, believe it or not, back then.
Wow.
For 30 grand, and I happened to have 30 grand in my pocket. So just whatever that word is, serendipity perhaps, or whatever that word is.
And that's how you started.
Yeah, got in there and realised it wasn't that complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe agency still, well, life isn't all that complicated. An agency, agencies are a good business to be in, but it's not a business for us going forward.
Yep. And through there, obviously, you probably started to understand the market, probably understand how property worked.
Yep.
And then was it a gradual transition into development, or what was the? Because it's quite a big leap.
Yeah, the bigger leap started in whatever 8 years ago was back from now, 2018, when I moved here and became a full-time developer. But before that time, I was in a regional marketplace that most of the developers were from afar. So, and we were, I guess, a leading agency in town at that time, and all the developers wanted you to have skin in the game. So,
right.
So that they were from a long way away, didn't really understand the marketplace, didn't have the contacts and all that sort of stuff. So I sort of became a developer by default, by being an agent and being involved in the deal and being on the ground and having an interest and perhaps some degree of ability to help them get the development out of the ground. Yeah. So I had MES funding, I suppose, for want of a better word, in I think 40 projects in Early Beach over the time. So
yeah, right.
Yeah. So
and were they relying on you in terms of getting the project out of the ground to get the sales
Yeah,
up and running?
yeah. We were an agency, and I was a development manager, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, would probably be the word. Yeah,
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
obviously that then translated onto working onto some of the approvals.
Yep.
And then probably dealing with some of the contractors.
Yep.
And did the role just expand for you in that direction?
It did. It's a good question. I hadn't thought about that. So all your questions are good. So we had a GFC in Early Beach, so as we did in most places, but we had one in Early Beach. And
quite a severe one.
Yeah. So, and I think it sort of half stopped in 2018, so it was a long one. So there was no development happening in Early Beach whatsoever. So I thought, well, we can't let that happen forever. So I started to do unlisted property trusts under the 2 a year, 20 people, sophisticated investor type thing, and become a developer. And I didn't have the dough to do it myself, and raise some money through my friends and acquaintances and develop. And and the necessity for doing that is we bought a site in Early Beach that was a beachfront site. It was valued at $74 million before the GFC or during the GFC. For when the last owner owned it, we as a trust of people paid cash at $5.9 million. So
wow,
big discount. And we couldn't raise debt funding for the $500,000 stamp duty. So that's how bad Early Beach was.
Wow.
Yeah. So then we had to go out and get a mortgage on it through a second tier lender. So it was the bottom of the bottom of the bottom.
Wow.
Yeah. So the only way anything could be developed was by locals working together, I suppose. Yeah. So that sort of was the next step into the development market. Yeah. And then as sort of that progressed, I did a couple when I first got here under that scheme. I got I obtained and still do have an AFSL that we can raise money and capital or debt or whatever we may want to do. We're not doing that at the moment, but we do have that. But I did need to do that when I first got to the Gold Coast. Yeah.
And was that a strategy to be maybe more self-reliant in terms of you weren't relying on external funding? You could go and raise the capital yourself and sort of control the process?
Yeah, I guess it was a strategy not to be in the position I was in Early Beach again, that I couldn't raise debt for stamp duty, which is just insane. I tell that story and everyone just thinks it's ludicrous, but it wasn't. That was the deal.
Yeah.
And I think probably the next thing that happened was sites were really, really hard to find, and deals were hard to find, and I guess I learnt my most important lesson. So this is one of the lessons I'd like to pass on that I've learnt is I really, really, truly understand that equity is the dearest form of debt.
Equity is the dearest form of debt
by a country mile. So without being too specific, I did a subdivision, had a friend of mine who was chasing me, had a few bob in his pocket. Yeah, let's do a deal together, And I got a subdivision, I didn't have all the money, and I said, I'll ring him up. And I rang him up, and we decided to put $1.5 million in each to this deal. We did that, we had a 9-month settlement and got closer to the 9 months. He goes, I'm a little bit short. Can we only put $1 million into the deal each? And I said, yeah, okay. So we had to go and reset the deal with a different financier and whatnot. During that time, we got an approval. We made all the sales. We got an earth moving contract, and we firmed it up. And we found out that we only had to put in total $1.1 million. So it started at 1.5 each. It got down to 550 each, which was only another 100. Well, it was less. I was going to put in 1.5 initially, so I actually would have saved 400. But even down at the million, we only had to put in 550 each. Then, and the profit on that deal was $7 million. So I gave him $3.5 million for $100,000. So that was the reality. Debt is the dearest form of equity by a country mile.
Wow.
So I thought I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
That's just not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And lovely person, good friend of mine. And if we're going to do that with someone, I'm blessed that I'm glad I did that with him. But it's just a crazy situation if you don't need to. If the only thing that the money brings to the table is the money, I think there's much better ways of doing
that.
Yeah.
And then that sort of led you in the path of raising your own funds.
Oh, we just got to the stage that we got a few bob in the bank, we can. We don't do a development unless it's funded by a senior bank.
Yep.
We class that as part of our due diligence. If a senior bank won't do it, we won't do it.
Yep.
And we use MES, one of the major MES providers, and there's quite a few of those around, to share, to provide some of the equity, but we pay a straight coupon. We don't do a profit share or an equity share. That. It's just a straight interest rate, and that's getting quite affordable at the moment.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
So that's our simple structure.
And in terms of making the decision, obviously, to invest in Early Beach when it was quite hard to obviously get funding for it in terms of raising even the stamp duty. What's your decision-making metrics to back yourself and back a potential project? Is it the fact that you knew the local market so well? Was it a gut feel? Was it pure metrics? What was, especially if you're raising other people's money from other people,
Yeah.
what's your decision-making?
I was flippantly going to say stupidity, but anyway, there was a bit of that in it. Look, I've got an active mind, and living in a place where there's no development whatsoever when you're a property person is pretty demotivating. So, it's a little bit like perhaps being a surfer on the Gold Coast and not having any waves. That wouldn't be a lot of fun. So, can you make waves? I think that's probably the answer to the question. The rate, we did another one. We bought a land subdivision and we're selling. We were going to sell land lots for $200,000. They got to 130, I think, at the best of the time, and I think we bought 78 or something like that, and we were going to sell them in a year, which you'd think would be, about the time frame. The previous developer said to us, every time I've been here, we've sold 14 a year. I was a PRD agency, which I'm very, very friendly and in awe of Gordon and Archie Douglas, and the R of PRD is research. So I did my own research, and yes, we sold 14 lots a year. Being a little bit younger, being a little bit more arrogant, perhaps, thought we could do better than that. And at the end of the day, we sold 14 blocks a year.
Yeah.
So coming to the Gold Coast and having the transactions that are on the Gold Coast, population hides
just the volume.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
And was that the main attraction to move into the Gold Coast? Was it the volume? Was it the fact that you could maybe do a bigger size project? Or
yeah, I took a lot of convincing to come to the Gold Coast. So Gordon Douglas was probably the main person that got me to the Gold Coast. So one of my highest values in life is lifestyle and my family. So my family was at the time in Early Beach, and Early Beach I thought at the time was the best place in the world to live and to recreate.
Mm-hmm.
It's still in the top two.
Yep.
The other one's here.
Yep.
And that's my humble opinion. And I'm outside all the time on my boatie, which we were talking about before we started. So I was really quite nervous of coming to an area that I thought that wouldn't have that lifestyle attraction that Early Beach had. Came here just for a new chapter, a little bit like shedding your leaves and just starting again. I'd been an agent for a long time. I was 50 when I moved, and I thought, well, I'm halfway, was what I was thinking. And, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life in Early Beach and do 14 blocks of land for, forever? Yeah, so, just a bigger marketplace. I didn't necessarily think that I was going to go and develop 200 or 300 apartments here at the time.
No.
But anyway, yeah.
Well, was it a sense of wanting to test yourself in a new market, test your skills and ability?
Yeah, just to reinvent myself, reinvigorate myself. Yeah, I was bored.
Okay.
I was bored. We had an agency that was, my business went down from whatever the number was, without being too particular, it went down 80%, and our market share grew. So that's insane when you work that metrics out.
Yeah, that is.
So it's insane. If it was $1 million, it went to 200,000, and my market share grew. So it was tough. Yeah. I just decided not to swim against the current anymore.
So you moved here 2018?
Yeah. I moved in January. So it's 8 years this year, whatever that is. It's 18. Yeah.
So explain to me, you've gone from starting over fresh to having $1.35 billion in the pipeline.
I'm a prolific shoe shopper.
Yeah, wow.
Just go out and buy things.
What's the mindset behind that?
Yeah.
Because that's an extraordinary feat in 8 years.
Yeah. So the extraordinary feat, if you asked Harry Triggenboth, he'd say, So I'm a big believer in relativity. So so Harry would look at that and say, what are you doing? Haven't even scratched the surface type thing. And not that we're going to necessarily get bigger than we are. I went to China in January 2 years ago, and that was really the big shift, I think. So that was the time that I came back and decided to start our Flourish brand, because I went to China and, one of the world's biggest populations, if not the world's biggest population growth perhaps, and they're all in tall buildings. And I came back and looked at the people that, were really big developers and smart developers, and, Harry is certainly one of those, Barry Morris is certainly one of those, and they're all going up, and you look at the Gold Coast and you think, well, the Gold Coast can't go out. And to be honest, I was probably a little bit embarrassed by because I have a fundamental belief that everyone should have a house.
Yeah.
That's one of my beliefs. I think everyone should have the ability to get a house if they want one.
Yeah.
And a house could be an apartment, but housing is probably the right word. And I don't think you can do that by just doing broad acre subdivisions on the Gold Coast. So, and then I came back and looked at what we'd done in the high-end beachfront, and particularly the 16 houses where we could have built 158 apartments. I thought to myself, we're actually denying some people the right to live. Yeah, and that's so we then I had Prospective Nexus sort of under construction, and Prospective Helm, which is a high-end and a super high-end one for us at Chevron Island, and I learnt at Helm a really, really important lesson. So we built 10 individual apartments there, all a little bit different, all high-end, and it took us like 12 months to get a firm price from a builder. Yeah, right. The trade engagement was almost nil. Our cabinetry and joinery price and our stone price was $350,000 an apartment, and that just scared the hell out of most people. And just after that time, I bought a site, and we did our first, which is Flourish Imago, which is under construction now. Did our to 128 apartments. And we got a build price in 6 weeks. And I go, how'd you do that? And they said, well, you're just building rectangularly. You've got some beautiful architecture outside in curves and whatnot, but the reality is you're building a fairly simple building.
Yeah.
You're building a building that replicates a lot of things throughout the building, and you can get maximum trade engagement by a number of trades, and it's just so much easier.
Yeah, there's efficiencies for all the trades all the way down the line.
There is, and there's more certainty for them, And so I thought to myself, just the high-end brand didn't appeal to me anymore.
Yep.
I thought we'd done that, and so we launched Prospective Imago. We sold, in inverted commas, my salespeople say we sold 45 on a weekend. We got 45 deposits on a weekend, which is one of our things. I always say not done until it's done. But we also felt that we hadn't given those people justice, because we were open, we were busy, we were in a little 100 square metre joint, and 45 people coming in, or probably 90, and bringing other people, so it was busy. So we had a function for them a week later, and I'll probably get emotional here. Sometimes I get emotional. People just came up and hugged us and said, thanks for giving us the opportunity to get into the marketplace. Yeah. And I think, wow, that's just what we
That's where
do.
it's at.
Yep.
And so in terms of then from a business growth perspective, as I understand it, your current setup is almost fully integrated.
Almost.
Now, has that allowed? Is the thought process behind that? Is that the best, in your view, the best way to have scaled to the level you scaled?
I think if we have one skill, we don't have many skills. If I think we have one skill, I think we have a skill of surrounding ourselves with extraordinary people.
Yep.
I think that's a skill that we have and we focus on. A lot of those people, well, we've got 14 or 15 people, so they're extraordinary people. But on top of that, architecture, for instance, we don't do internally. Got an extraordinary architect.
Yep.
We do town planning internally now. We didn't. We used to use own extraordinary town planners.
Yep.
So I think our ability is to surround ourselves with extraordinary people. We started with sales and marketing because I come from a sales background, so that was an easy one.
Yeah, it was an easy one to adopt.
Yeah, and I'm also cognizant that we're not delivering for 2 or 3 years, so representation and buyer nurturing and all those sort of. I'm still sort of at Early Beach wondering about whether we're actually going to get paid at the end of the day. We can be rock stars and sell 45 on the first weekend, but the reality is that doesn't mean anything. It's having help.
That's the major risk for you as you grow, to nurture those all the way to completion.
And have happy customers willing to give us a check at settlement. That's the gig. We've got three extraordinary development managers. We do funding internally. Great guy doing funding, sales and marketing. So we have a services company where the revenue so we develop each site under an SPV, and we pay market rates for those services. So the sales things, we pay 3% to which is I think a market rate to my services company. We pay salespeople out of that, etc. So it's a profit centre. Yep. It is, and it's just a good business for us to have that. So that's how that comes about. We aren't building internally. We have a exclusive arrangement with a builder called LPS, who are very, very on the high end of extraordinary.
Yep.
We're their only customer. They're our only customer. We've got a 13-year agreement. I'm hopeful. I wrote a business plan a couple of years ago to give you an idea of how old I am to 2067. So I'm hopeful they'll be a builder to 2067. And we have a great relationship, and I think at the moment, with the way the sales market is and the population market is, the population is growing, and how a lot of projects aren't getting out of the ground, I think if you can produce stock, you're probably okay. I mean, that's a little bit flippant, but I do think if you can build... So, sorry, I should go back and yell out if I'm sort of talking too much and you want to talk more. I track 5 things really, really closely as the owner of my company. So I track acquisitions. How easy is it to buy a site? I track how easy it is to get an approval. I track how easy it is to get funding, track how easy it is to deliver, and how easy it is to sell. So they're the 5 things.
Metrics.
Then they go into a wheel, and if one of those is out, the wheel's not going to be all that smooth. So that's when you get grey hair, and when you've been in Early Beach, you come out of Early Beach with no hair. So I don't want to do that. I've got none left. And 3 or 4 years ago, like the acquisition side of things was out.
Yeah.
I am concerned about the funding side of things being a little bit out, so we're hedging all of our funding. So I'm happy to pay the rates that are out there at the moment, and I've hedged most of my funding, and delivery is obviously one of the key ones. So I think if we've got a relative handle on that, and we're growing at the rate our builder can grow, is the reality to your question.
Yeah. But the fact that you've got it integrated, you're getting real data.
Yeah.
On all aspects of the business. So you're getting real-time data, which is, I suppose, allowing you in those 5 different aspects to know where things are at and have your finger on the pulse at all times.
R from PRD, the old research. So we drive it hard, and I guess maybe we're a little bit of a late adapter to AI, but we're best friends with Claude all of a sudden, and we just analysed all of our PCG reports on the last 2 projects that we finished, and the data that came out of that was extraordinary.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you think that you know what's happening, and you look at this data and you think, gosh, So we are into data. Yeah.
So you're managing the cost, the time, inputs from those PCGs, and then analysing.
Yep.
How did we actually perform on it?
Yeah, exactly that. Delays, defects. Where are the defects? It's insightful. Yeah.
And then that's informing you to obviously grow the business, and you're tweaking it as you go.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But we've got great builders, is the reality of our company at the moment, and hopefully our builders have got a great customer.
Yeah.
We have a philosophy that our relationship's not an arm wrestle. So we're mates. We're not arm wrestlers against each other. It's not a win-lose situation. They have a guaranteed margin with a high opportunity to get substantial upside, and I also think that they shouldn't wear the risk of the market. So I don't think that's their role. So So
it's interesting from all the conversations I've had with different developers, is that understanding of sharing the risk actually has propelled a lot of projects. Sitting down across from your builder or your contractor. And really getting into their world and understanding what risks are fair to take and what risks aren't.
Yeah, exactly.
Opens up the avenue to then, have a relationship like you guys have built.
Yeah. And I think, if you can pour concrete, you're a fair advantage at the moment.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. So in terms of, in the last 8 years, is there one sort of sliding doors moment, or is there one maybe mistake or major lesson that you'd like to share in terms of what, because the business covers those 5 key points. It's fully integrated. You've got a really good relationship with the contractor, so you've really got a model set up at the moment that's allowing you to acquire sites, quite efficiently, sell, very strongly, and actually get a product to market, which a lot of developers are struggling to do at the moment.
Yeah.
Is there one?
Yeah. So just one thing to add, maybe before us answering that question. The answer to your question is debt's the dearest form of equity. That's a big lesson. So our business now isn't developing stock; it's creating lifestyle communities. So that wheel then now forms part of a car.
Yeah.
It does. So, and to be truthful, we're not across the balance of the car. So I think we're relatively across that first wheel, but's a terrible word. However, we're learning how to build community. So I think the three things that we're focusing on is wealth, health, and lifestyle. So we've got a primary view or a deep view that buyers have to get value in our projects. We cop a little bit of flack. I gave a presentation in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago and got a bit of flack for the prices we're selling in Brisbane. You know, we are happy. We make a good margin on our product, and all of our products, inclusive of Brisbane. Our buyers get good value. They make some money. They stay in our buildings. We're really, really happy, and that's a fundamental thing for us. Someone asked how we do it, and my simple answer, which everyone thought was flippant, but it's not, is we do it intentionally.
Yeah.
So every minute of the day we think about how we can produce buyer value. So
Yep.
it's a big gig. It is, particularly in this rising cost marketplace. It's a big gig. So then health is the next one. So our communal rec areas are primarily health driven, and health's changing rapidly.
It is. The wellness.
Yeah, the wellness. Yeah, and I'm a little bit older, so you start to think about longevity, and you know, I think this is possibly an answer to a lot of your questions. When you're congruent, you're healthy. So when whatever you are feeling internally transpires to what you're doing externally, you're doing things by passion as opposed to doing things by necessity.
Yeah.
You're in a good joint. You're in a good spot. So I think health is moving from gyms to wellness to the next level of whatever that may be, and I'm still learning about that. And that putting all that together in a big building, or a bigger building, you know, not a big building in Harry's mind, a couple hundred apartments, you create a community, and our communities started because my mother, who was 79, couldn't open a jar. She was at home and she was quite distraught. I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "I can't open a jar. She doesn't have wrist strength." And I said, "Well, can't you just go next door and ask your neighbour to open the jar?" You know, I lived a couple hundred kilometres away, and she said, "Oh, you know, I could, but I can't. I've got to go into a home." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, you know, it just doesn't sound right to me." And so we're developing a Helping Hands program that in our buildings that we'll have a skills directory and people. My mother can't open a jar. Hopefully her next door neighbour can, but she's home. She's retired. She can collect a parcel for someone. She can, maybe, if the people are happy,
She can assist.
Sorry.
Yeah. She can assist.
Yeah, assist. Yeah, look after children and all those sort of things. You know, I'm boy stupid, so I can't put up a painting. You know, hopefully there's a bloke in the building that can put up a painting and all that sort of stuff. So there's a whole it's a short version of how we get a Helping Hands program happening. We'll have a cruise director, for want of a better word, sort of organising activities in the building and just getting a sense of community within our communities to promote health, wellness and longevity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your question was there one pivotal moment? Look, I think the couple of things that I've learnt, there was an earlier question which you haven't touched on about Olympians or sport. I go to the coffee shop and everyone goes, particularly a couple of years ago, everyone talks property and everyone goes, "Oh God, it's so hard to buy a site." And the answer to that, I think, is if you think so. If you think it's hard to buy a site, you may as well not leave the coffee shop because you ain't going to find one. And you know, you look, I'm a swimmer, and you look at Grant Hackett. If he went to the coffee shop and you said, "Here you go, Grant, how are you going to go in the Olympics?" "Oh, it's hard to win a gold medal." He ain't going to be winning the gold medal, you know. So when we decide to buy a site, we buy a site. And I think our strength in buying sites is, particularly now, is the sites that we don't look at. So I get an email, there'll be an email in the half an hour I've been blessed to share with you so far from an agent with the site, and it'll be a 99% chance I won't get past the heading, I'll just go delete.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really big on having a really, really clear mind.
On what you're looking for.
Yeah. And when that one pops up, I don't sleep. Like literally,
You just go for it.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My architect doesn't sleep. My builder doesn't sleep. My agents, not my salespeople, but my people, the development people in our company don't sleep.
Until you've secured it. And is that I suppose competitive edge and mindset, is that from the swimming? days? Because you were obviously an accomplished swimmer.
I'm a long distance swimmer.
Yeah.
I'm slow but can go all day.
Yeah.
Look.
Is that where you've built the resilience up?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I just think that I'm a big believer in the law of deliberate creation, that when you set your mind to something, then anyone can do anything.
Yeah.
However, most people's mindset is wrapped around why things can't happen.
Work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have that mindset, they won't work.
Yeah.
We're in an industry where there are things that pop up.
Yep.
That's the industry we've chosen to be in, and we rub our hands together and say, well, this is another opportunity for us to learn. And it is. Yeah. So.
And you find with that mindset, you get the opportunities that others wouldn't, or tipped into deals that others wouldn't be, because you do have that mindset.
I'm the least busy person I know, and you would think, everyone says, "Oh, you must be so busy. If you ever get time for a cup of coffee," I say, "Like I've got today's booked out, but tomorrow's free." So look, I think I admire Elon Musk. I don't agree with everything, but he speaks about that. He wants to spend, or his target is to spend 85% of his time on his core focus, and 15% on stuff. And I just don't do stuff. Okay, and a large part of stuff is sites. So other sites. So I do acquisitions, I do strategy, and I do sales track, and I don't do much else. And I fix problems, because I like fixing problems. Yeah. But something else, not interested.
Yeah.
There's to be honest, I'm not interested. And secondly, there's better people in my organisation to do it. But I think if you're disciplined enough to work on, innovation's a key one for me. So I'm highly, highly, highly interested in innovation. If you're lucky enough to know what you like doing and you only do that, I think you're in a good spot. You've got plenty of time. Yeah, plenty of time. So yes, to answer your question, I think we get sites because agents now know that, or sellers know that, if we decide to buy it, we buy it.
You move quickly.
Yeah. And I'm not afraid to say thank you. Adam might ring me up. Thank you, Adam. That's not for me. And it's a 10-second.
It's a succinct
decision. You know, or it could be, Adam. It may be for me. Give me an hour to look at it, and I'll get Sam, my town planner, will look at it. And then if it's yes, it could be. We don't sleep.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's how it works. Yeah.
So, I mean, my sort of biggest takeaway from the conversation so far is, in terms of what you're providing your customers and clients, there's a ton of value that's put into the floor plans.
There is. Yep.
A ton of value that's sort of evolved and been innovated to something that you can replicate on quite a large scale now.
Yep.
And then the focus moving forward is the communities and making the buildings work harmoniously. Yep. And I think what I'm hearing is like those two combinations together and being able to deliver those projects in a relatively tough market in terms of supply and demand at the moment for trades. That's where your wealth is being created for your purchases. Very good summary. So thank you. You should talk about our values. You've got it really, really clearly. Yeah. I think the other one, like affordability, is really important to me. Yeah. So affordability, in my view, can only be. There's only 2 or 3 matrices in there. So site acquisition, building costs, so interest cost. Innovation is really important to me, and affordability can only come from smaller things, smarter things in terms of design. But once you get that, and I think we've got a pretty close model in terms of the architect's got to design this way. Once you get that, the rest of it is size. So one of the things we were thinking about is, what are one of our hurdles? Our hurdle is keeping our relationship with our builder, building very, very quickly, but having an open mind to innovation. Yep. So simple things like flexible room layouts. Yep. Doors that walls that fold away, beds that drop from the ceiling, beds that drop from the walls. Laundries that roll out to studies and all those sort of things, I think, are a way of the future. Yeah. And I think our disadvantage is we sell something today and we don't deliver for 3 years. It's already changed. Oh, we're selling an iPhone 14 today, and we're delivering an iPhone 14 in
3 years' time and
Yeah.
it's an iPhone 26.
It's the biggest struggle.
It's crazy.
Whether it's security systems
Thank you.
and all
Yeah.
that AV systems.
Yeah.
By the time we finish the projects, we're
Yeah.
like, oh man, this stuff's outdated.
Yeah. So we're just working. We've got 2 launches coming up, so we're working on our contracts and our disclosures to say that, innovative is our gig. So we've got to have it in our contract that yes, you can have this, but the reality is we're hoping to get you to Y at the time. Yeah.
Awesome.
And doing that and having a builder that just wants to go and start digging dirt and get there quick because we're up them to get there quick is a balancing act.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in terms of the way you guys are building, in terms of construction methodology, in terms of how you're designing the structure of your building, I'd imagine with your builder now, you've got a pretty succinct, succinct process.
You would think so.
Yeah.
So 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, we had got together with about 30 of our consultants and key trades and talked about how we can build quicker and more cost effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And that was super, super, super insightful.
Yeah,
because I just thought the architect would know all that, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the architect does, but maybe it doesn't all go in.
Mm-hmm.
And that was super insightful. And what I took away from that and our process now is every issue of our plans goes to us for the floor plans. It goes to the builder for cost, and then it goes to 4 or 5 or 6, I think it is, key trades.
Yeah.
And they're on it from day one. Yeah, like the first issue goes to the key trades.
Yep.
Yeah, and I said when I was talking up in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago, it's about fingernails. There's no real big stuff out there, but
It's all the small incremental stuff.
Yeah, a combination of that, and we're blessed to have people willing to do that with us.
Yeah.
And I guess the trade-off is we've got Gantt charts, I think they're called, that we distribute to all of our people for the next 3 years. They basically know what they're doing for the next 3 years. Not every day, and things move and change, and we're upfront about that. We've got a delay or a planning approval delay or whatever it might be, but they know when things are coming and how it all works, and they all feel part of that.
So that's consultants as well as potentially some key trades as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, right.
100%. Yeah, or all trades.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think you're talking about sporting analogies. I think I don't understand rugby league too much, but I watch it. I love Penrith for whatever reason. Winning 4 in a row is consistency. I love consistency, and you think it's about those guys all having a role in the team, but knowing that when it's on, they've got to do whatever.
Yeah.
If there's a bloke running down the other end, whoever can catch him's got to catch him. It's not anyone's particular job. So I think we're blessed to have people that have got that mentality.
Yeah. And obviously over the 8 years, you built some very good relationships with your supply chain as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They're great people, and they're our ambassadors on site. I guess particularly the finishing trades, as terrible as this sounds, most of the finishing trades probably spend more time with our buyers than I do.
Yeah.
That's probably the reality.
Yeah.
Mm.
Awesome. One thing I did want to touch on as well as your philanthropic side.
Yep.
Did you maybe want to touch on that and how that sort of aligns with who you are and the values of your company?
Yeah, thank you. So a company is called Sherpa, and that came from myself climbing base camp or walking to base camp, and just amongst other things understanding the Nepalese people, and I just think they're beautiful people. And the reality is there's no way I could have walked to base camp without the Nepalese.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm a boatie, and I'm probably the most avid boatie most people know, but I couldn't go out without the VMR because I'm useless. So if something happens, I'm dead, and they're a security blanket. So I think our company is a little bit like that. We say that we do the heavy lifting for our customers. So we're, at the end of the day, if we don't have a customer, we don't have a business. We don't rent.
Yeah.
We're different to agents. We don't have a 60-day agency agreement. We build stuff to sell. So the whole part of that journey is site acquisitions, design, all that stuff to the end. And at the end we make a few bob, and that's a good thing. And I guess I have been inspired by perhaps Bill Gates, who started his foundation, and Warren Buffett and other people. And you think, these people are giving away is not a nice term, but 99% of their wealth.
Yeah.
Obviously a big number, but still they have the choice to not do that.
Yeah.
And sort of once upon a time I was a Catholic boy, and there was a thing called tithing. I think it was called. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
I always struggle with that word. So we just made a decision to take the 10% road. And we do that in two ways. So 50% of that goes in cash donations, and 50% of that is retained in the Sherpa Foundation, invested, and the investment returns go in cash, and the other, the capital of that is retained. Yeah, and community is our word currently, or one of our words, and community is a big word for us. And I think if we can do anything to help the community, I think we've got an obligation to do that. Yeah, so it's been really, really rewarding for us.
It has, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you seen? I love the concept of tithing because I'm a Catholic boy as well. So, have you seen any intrinsic value to doing it in terms of?
Look, homelessness is a key thing. So anything that, and we're in that industry, so anything that we can do to assist there is a good thing. And I had a chap who was working with me, and he was really homeless centric, and we were out walking one day, and he simply bent down and picked up some rubbish and put it in the bin. And I think Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are leading by example. So. Some of the examples, so that sort of got ingrained in me. Every time I walk past rubbish now, I pick it up and put it in the bin. And people go, "What are you doing?" I said, "Picking up the rubbish, putting it in the bin." "Oh, you don't have to do that." I said, "No, I don't have to, but everyone should." And I think it just led me to the thinking, and I'm a big believer in the word understanding, because I think there's a difference between sort of knowing and understanding. That understanding that collectively we can all make a difference. Yeah, we really can. And I also think that contributing money is far easier than what most organisations do who benefit from the money, who then go out and provide the services. I mean, we've got the easy job, by far. Yeah. By far. Yeah. I get emotional again, the first time when I went and worked with an organisation, we were delivering food. The people couldn't come in to get the food. We were delivering food, and in my mind, I'm busy and I'm supposed to be delivering this food to this family or this guy at 10 o'clock in a thing in Surfers Paradise, and couldn't get him on the doorbell, and I rang him on his phone. I said, "Where are you, mate? I've got some food for you." He goes, "I'm at home." And I said, "Well, I'm here." And he goes, "Oh, I was there last night." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I have to move every night." Wow. And I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, so he has to pay $100, $140 a night in Surfers Paradise to have accommodation.
Wow. And
they're two nights stay. And, here's me whinging about being busy trying to find the bloke.
And he's, well, good on you, mate, for being that change.
Yeah, thank you.
And helping those people.
Yeah, and the reality is it's our customers that are helping them. We're just part of the journey.
Yeah. So you see yourselves as part of the journey, and it's your customers that are actually...
Yeah, we're the Sherpas. Yeah. And at the end of the day, we're taking people to base camp, wherever that is, or to the summit. We're not...
Yeah.
I wasn't quite brave enough to go to the summit myself.
Yeah.
And, wherever that is for them. Yeah. And... I also like Steve. I love Steve Jobs, and Steve's view is most people don't know where base camp is, so it's also our role to show them where base camp is, and I do believe in that. And most people thought he was pretty arrogant saying that, but the reality is most people didn't understand what a telephone could do.
And is that your vision for Sherpa? To be the guidance system, to be the guys that take the heavy load, to provide the accommodation, be a cog in the wheel. A massive influence in resolving affordability issues, and also then providing some of the benefit of those proceeds. Then
and I think 100%. I think the other thing I'd add in there is to provide folks like my mother the opportunity to live in a community. The home project, we've actually got 4 generations living in the one building, and it's only a building of 10.
Yeah, wow.
What a beautiful thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so that whole sense of our wheel's just got a bit bigger than being purely development centric, or development delivery centric. I think we do that okay.
But it's a bigger picture here.
It is,
for your legacy and in terms of your values.
Yeah.
And that's what Sherpa really stands for.
Yeah, and we're only just starting to deliver new buildings in that space. So we will need to perform.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Christie.
Go ahead.
In terms of where Sherpa's heading in the future, was there anything you wanted to touch on?
Only just getting started.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll build as quickly as our builder can deliver. So, and yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks for the opportunity.
I really appreciate you talking to us and opening up, mate. That was awesome.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Sounds good.
Cheers. Thanks.